shattered and grieved. See, the devil wanna scatter and deceive, and God's no love, he'll leave you battered to bleed. Every day getting sadder, we need the love of Jesus Christ instead.
Well, the title of my book is 5 Years to Life, and actually is the prison sentence that I received when I was 17 years old for my involvement in a crime in the county of Merced. But it also has a double meaning. 5 years was the sentence that I received from the state, and the life part of it is what I'm now serving as a follower of Christ. The book is really talks about my upbringing, it talks about my time in prison, and then it talks about getting out of prison. It's not one of those books that talks about a bad guy becoming good. My wife says I'm still working on the good part. But it really is about the people in my life who have helped me to get where I'm at today. Because I would not be here. Wasn't for my father, my mom, and others in my life who have just hung in there with me, just refused to give up on me. And so I write about some of those individuals, but really it's just about the struggles that I went through coming out of a divorced home, and like so many others, internalizing my anger and frustration, and instead of talking it out, I acted it out.
Tell us a little bit about just your upbringing and what led you into that situation which got you caught up with that prison sentence.
Well, I have my mom and dad, they loved us. They divorced, I think I was about 8 years old. There were 6 kids. We all were reared by our father. And my grandmother came to help my father to raise us, my mother's mother. And she was a great woman, and my father is still a wonderful man. And my mom's a good lady. God has done tremendous healing in my life and my relation with my mother, so that now she's one of my good friends. But when I was growing up, it was just the opposite. I could not understand why she wasn't there. And divorce wasn't as common as it is today. I was really attached to my mom, and I just loved my mama. And I suspect in a sense she was like my God. And so you have to be careful who you make your God, because when your God disappears, you're in trouble. And so my God disappeared, and I was in trouble. And I just began to act out the hurt, the pain, the disappointment that I felt. I was raised in church, baptized at 8 years of age, and I had all kind of people in my life that were trying to talk to me. School principal, my dean in the office. My family has a great name, still have a good name down in the Merced County area. Some of the people that grew up with my father tried to encourage me. I just refused to listen. No, I take that back. I heard everything people told me, and then I did what I wanted to do, which is the same that everybody else does. We hear, and then we do what we want.
So what led to that association with the negative peer group? I mean, how did that all start? How did that all come about?
Well, what happened was I got high. I think it was on glue. I think I sniffed some glue. And what I realized was, when I got high, I didn't feel the pain. I didn't worry. I didn't feel the pain. And so, consequently, I just kept getting high, because I didn't want to deal with the pain. I didn't want to deal with the pain that eventually I went to live with my mother. So I left my 5 siblings living with my dad, and I hated it. It wasn't so much that I hate living with my mom. I just hated being away from my brothers and sisters. We grew up together. My brothers and I slept in the same room, and we shared beds with 4 boys, 2 in one bed, 2 in the other bed, for years. And so I missed that. And it was just something inside of me that I wanted that, but I didn't want to leave my mom alone. And it was a crazy time growing up as a kid, and especially not talking about it. And I think so many young people end up in trouble because they just don't talk about what's going on the inside. It's not that people are not there, they just don't talk about it. So I didn't talk about it. I drowned it out with drugs. Never really liked drugs, but I drowned out my stuff with drugs, whether it was marijuana or pills or alcohol. All of it's drugs, until it culminated in one night of being high and going out to a liquor store to rob a store, and before the night was over, someone was dead.
So after that had happened, you take us to when you're in the county jail, what's going through your
Well,
head?
when I got to the county jail, my father came to visit me. And what's really funny is on my desk, I keep two items. I keep a figurine of a little black kid with a hat on with a pig underneath his arm. And then I keep a Bible. The Bible is there because when I was 16 years old, I was in juvenile hall, and I won this Bible from doing Bible studies. And when I got out, I gave it to my father. And my father said, "Son, I'm going to save it." I said, "For what?" He said, "For you." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you're going to preach out of this Bible one day." And I kind of laughed. I was probably high when I gave it to him and walked off. Well, if you can see the Bible, it's really kind of worn and tattered because I preached many a sermon on it. But when I got to prison, I remember the first day I walked through there at DVI. I looked out on the yard and I said, "Well, this is not a career move." And I remember going to my cell that night saying, "God, I don't want to go home the same way I came." And though I didn't really expect to have some religious experience, I just didn't want to go home this way. And all of a sudden I began to think about the friends I grew up with. I grew up in a small town, and I just felt horrible. I felt like I had let down everybody who had ever believed in me. And so, but somehow, even in prison, I found the drugs. So I started drowning out the pain again and what have you. And my grandfather died. My grandfather was a county sheriff in Merced County. And miracles of miracles, they let me go to his funeral. And I remember the guard who took me, Mr. Watson, he says, "Sam," he goes, "I only hope that you don't run," because I hadn't gone to the release board yet and had a 5 years of life sentence. And I said, "When you meet my family today, you'll understand I can't hurt him anymore." We pulled up in my father's front yard. My dad came out to meet us. He looked at me and he says, "Your grandfather's still showing you that he loves you and he cares about you." And I thought he had left me something. I said, "Well, Daddy, what do you mean?" He said, "If he hadn't died, you wouldn't be here today. You'd still be back in that prison." And I remember looking at him thinking, "Man, well, what kind of a man is this?" And then we went to the funeral. But, and I remember standing over my grandfather's casket, and I looked at my grandfather, and for the first time in my life, I looked down on him, and I made him a promise. I said, "Daddy Bryce, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to change. I'm going to make your name good again." And I went back to prison. I even took drugs back with me. How I took the drugs back in, it's none of your business. But I took drugs back in with me, but it wasn't the same anymore. And I remembered when I was first arrested, and my father came down to the county jail. He looked at me, hurt in his face. And I don't think a lot of kids are able to see the hurt in their parents' face. Whether you were raised by your mom, your dad's not there, it's all the same. And he said, "Son, we're in trouble. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to make it." And I remember one night in prison, I went to the phone to make a phone call. And of course it was collect. Nobody was there. I called my dad, called my mom, called my sister. Nobody was there. And I remember thinking, you know what? Nobody's ever there when you need them. And my father, I remembered some words my father used to say. He said, "If you boys, when you get big, if you're ever in a place you wish Daddy could be with you and I can't be there," he says, "you'll never be in a place where Jesus can't be." And that night I asked Christ to come into my life, and I've never looked back since. The main message really of my book is your life can change if you're willing to take responsibility for it. My life changed when I took responsibility for my actions. Some people really believe God can just do whatever. The older I get, the more I realize there's some things I don't think God can do. I think he can do, but he won't do. One of them is, he didn't come down and say, "Now, Sam, you're going to give your life to me because I got a plan for your life and you're going to do it." And I was telling a relative recently, I says, God won't change your mind, but he will put you in a position where you'll wish you had changed your mind or you'll want to change your mind. And the Bible story of that is really the prodigal son. God didn't say, you know what, you're going to change your mind, you're going to go back home. What changed his mind was the smell of that slop. As here I am in prison, all I'm smelling is slop. I'm going, I don't have to live like this. Man, I got a good father, my mom, the dad, they love me. I got brothers and sisters. I got family. I'm not going to live like this. And just like the prodigal son, I came to my senses and surrendered my life to Christ and did 2 months shy of 5 years, and then I got out. And that's when the real battle began.
So when you see somebody, when you go back, and you've been back to DVI,
Mm-hmm.
now when you go back there, What do you say to an individual that maybe reminds you of yourself? What do you say to him?
It ain't over. See, prison is not conducive for making healthy, productive citizens. Prisons are set up to bring you back. And so I began to talk to some of the older guys who were in prison. And once they realized that I was serious about not coming back, they told me, they said, son, you don't want to come back? No, let me tell you what to do and what not to do. But some people, they get caught up in that stuff. You get caught up in the gang lifestyle and what have you because they've never really received unconditional love, whether it be from a father, whether it be from a mother. And oftentimes I'm talking to guys and they'll say, man, I'm here because of my dad. I say, what's his name? What's he look like? Where's he live? And it always surprises me when they don't know any of those answers to any of those questions. And I look at them and say, so let me see if I got this straight. You're here doing this prison time because of a man that you don't even know. Now, I really do know what they're talking about from an emotional perspective, but it's just blame. It's just truly blame. And I just try to tell guys, your life can begin right here, in this place, right where you're at, if you'll accept responsibility for your actions and start making a different set of choices.
When you talk about those older inmates telling you, what to do not to come back, what were some of the things that they told you?
Well, the first thing they told me is you better watch who you hang out with right here. Said because what most guys don't understand is change doesn't start when you get out of this place. Change starts right here. In fact, there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he wrote a book and he titled Change is an Inside Job. And he was talking about an inside job. And that really is, listen, it's an inside job. And I learned even in prison that sometimes it's a tough road to hoe and what have you, but nobody can make you do what you don't want to do. Nobody can. They can try to pressure you and all the rest. But you know what? We're all free moral agents. And we used to always, every now and then, pull out our ID card and say, the judge only sent me to do this time, and so I'm going to do this time. And yet, there was a lot of craziness. I was 17 years old. I turned 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 in prison. And there was only at that time 3 of us that were 17 years old down in DVI. It used to be youth authority, and they changed it to an adult facility. And there were 3 of us in there, and it was a very interesting time for us. But God helped us.
So, now here you are. You Assistant Superintendent of Assemblies of God for the Northern California District in Nevada.
What does all that mean, right?
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to see is now you're doing these mission trips all around the world. Mm-hmm. How do you relate your experience, your testimony, to your mission trips, to your ministry now? How does that all tie together?
Let me take a few seconds and update. I got out of prison, and I lived in a different place. I went to the Salvation Army and bought all my clothes from there. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I hadn't impressed anybody in 5 years, so I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I had to start finding a new group of friends to hang out with, which is very difficult because all my friends were doing the party thing, but I really wanted to change. I did not want to hurt my mom, dad. I didn't want to hurt people anymore. And so I moved to a different place in the same town, bought my clothes at a different place. I began there. My first day out of prison, I went to church. The first night I was out of prison, I went to church, and the church threw a party for me, which totally blew my mind. Well, then I went to college, graduated with a bachelor's degree from Bethany University in Santa Cruz. That was an amazing thing because I couldn't read well, but I needed an education to get a good job and take care of my family. Ended up becoming a youth leader at a church in Vallejo. Earned a master's degree from Azusa Pacific University. Became the dean of students. Years later at Bethany, became the president of Match 2 Prisoner Outreach here in California. And planted a church in Benicia, California, where we lived for 24 years, and I pastored 11 and a half, and eventually earned my doctorate degree in leadership from Regent University. It took us 5 years to do that. But how I connected on that, then my affiliations, religious-wise, and has been with the Assemblies of God, and they have been gracious, and I do mean gracious, to allow me to be a leader in this fellowship. They've not held my past against me. And I've been accepted, I've been embraced, and I've been voted to this position of leadership, whereby now I help to oversee about 430 churches. 180 of them are responsible right to the office that I'm now privileged to sit in. And I take missionary trips once a year. In fact, this last year I went to Ghana, West Africa, and took my 3 oldest grandchildren. And I have pictures of my granddaughters in the office of the Chief Justice of Ghana, being prayed over by this gracious Christian lady. We have 11 grandchildren. My wife Linda and I just celebrated our 33rd year of marriage. And God has been really good to us. But it started on a prison yard, Sierra Conservation Center, coming to a place where I said, God, I'm not you, and your last name is not Dam, and I need you. Please help me.
Now, if somebody wanted to get the book, 5 Years of Life, how would they go about doing that?
They can go on our website, Sam Huddleston, Inc., or they can call my office, 916-379-9600, talk to my assistant. But those are probably two of the best ways to get it. You know, I wanted to close by saying two things. Number one, maybe somebody watching this and they have a loved one incarcerated. And if you'd like them to receive a copy of my book, if you contact my office, we'll make sure they get one free of charge to you. Second thing is this, maybe you're a young person, older person, I don't know, and you don't know Jesus. And I would like to say you want to explore, or you want to start the journey. It's a journey. I'm telling you, I thought crying was exciting. It is nothing compared to following Jesus. Things I've been able to do, places I've been able to go. I didn't do any of that stuff till I met Jesus. But it started right here. I sat down on a prison yard one night, and I said, God, I don't believe you exist. But if you do, would you come into my heart? Would you help me? I was miserable on the inside, which means I had everybody around me was miserable. But when he came into my heart, and I prayed a prayer that went something like this, and maybe you would like to start this journey. I'm telling you, you'll never regret following Jesus. It will not be the easiest decision you've ever made, but I guarantee it'll be the most rewarding. And I simply said something like this. And if you want to start the journey, you can just pray with me and just say, Jesus, my name is, say your name. And like Sam, I'm pretty lonely. I'm pretty messed up on the inside. I got a lot of time to do. I'm mad at a whole lot of people. I'm miserable, but I don't want to be this way. Sam said that you changed his life. Sam said that his life has never been the same as a result of asking you to come inside of him. He said he asked you to forgive him of his sins, and you did. I'm asking you to do the same thing for me. I'm not asking you to get me out. You're not my crime partner. But I am asking that you give me a peace that you gave Sam while he was in prison. And then help me every day to represent you by reading my Bible and just following after you. So help me, Lord, I pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Father, we just thank you so much. There's no name above your name. I wouldn't serve any other name. Yeah, sure, Mashiach.
There's power in the name.